Rev up your engines! Today I'm going to show you things you can easily do yourself to make your car run better. Now when I was a young mechanic back in the 60s, hey, there was all kinds of stuff you could do to keep your car running. Cars needed tune-ups, they needed carburetors adjusted, points set. But these days, hey, most things are computerized. That still doesn't mean that things don't need to be cleaned though. Yeah, cars don't have carburetors that need cleaning, but they have throttle plates. Inside here is the throttle plate. They get dirty, they can clog up. So you can get some spray cleaner and clean them. And the same thing goes for mass airflow sensors. They can get dirt and crud and need cleaning every once in a while. You just unplug the sensor and unscrew it and then wiggle it and pull it out. And as you can see in here, the sensor part here has a lot of dirt on it. There's also dirt inside, so you just spray it clean. You just spray it till all the gunk gets off of it. And also spray the inside on one side, then turn it over and spray the inside of the other side to back flush it. And now you can see how nice and shiny the chrome is here, all the dirt's off of it, and the inside's clean too. Then let it air dry about 15-20 minutes before you put it back on, so we'll clean the throttle while we're waiting for that. Now the air box is in the way to get to the throttle, so we got to take the air box out of the way. Then we loosen the clamps of the other part and pull it off. Then when that's all out of the way, there's the throttle that we want to clean. You can see it's all dirty inside. Then start spraying all the crud out. And you also want to push it with your fingers so you can get inside and clean. And also have a rag to wipe it all clean. Just look at all the crud that it's cleaned off. And just like the MAF cleaner, when you use the throttle cleaner, let it air dry for 15 minutes or so it gets all the vapors out. Now you don't need to do this all that often. Maybe once every 30,000-40,000 miles or something. It's not that big of a deal, but if you don't do it, you get carbon buildup. It can run wrong, the computer gets wrong data because either the mass airflow sensor's dirty, or if the throttle's dirty, it'll be sticking open a little, and then the throttle position sensor will give inaccurate information to the computer, and it won't run right. And sometimes something as simple as spray cleaning it can fix that. And don't forget your air filter. I have seen more problems being created by clogged up air filters over the last 51 years. Because the computer and everything was set up for a certain octane of gas. Now, if you're going in the reverse direction, a modern car that's set up for high test gas, most of them will run perfectly fine on any gasoline you put in them. Like that Ford Mustang with the 4-cylinder EcoBoost engine that puts over 300 horsepower out. They even say, if you use high test gas, it puts out 300 something horsepower. But if you use the lower test gas, then it only puts out 200 something horsepower. It'll still run perfectly fine, but it won't have the power. But if you have a car, like this Toyota, that was made for regular octane gas, not only are you throwing your money away putting higher octane gas in it, it can actually run worse. So don't throw away your money at the pump. Do what your manual says for your car. Whatever octane rating it says, don't buy any higher, you're just throwing your money away. Now the next thing to check, especially in the summers, make sure your cooling fans are working right. So turn the AC on full blast, put it on full speed, then check the cooling fans. This one's blowing, and that one's blowing. Over the years, I've had many customers have one or both of the fans stop working. Now the insidious thing is, if one doesn't work and the other does, the temperature gauge might stay pretty much near the normal on your dash, but you're not getting correct airflow. So you want to make sure that both fans are working correctly. Because if you don't have full airflow, that wears things out faster. On a highway, of course, it doesn't make any difference. You got 60-mile-an-hour wind when you're going 60, but in stop and go traffic, it's very important that all the fans are working correctly. So check them every once in a while if you got an older car. Now in the summer, you want to make sure that your cooling system is working right. In conjunction with the air conditioning system, it takes heat out of the cabin so you don't get hot under the collar when you're driving in hot summer weather. Now cooling systems are sealed systems, but take the condenser right here. That's in front of the radiator. It looks like a radiator, but it's the AC condenser. The AC condenser is here. It's in front of the radiator. And if those fins get any kind of bugs or goop on them, you want to make sure that they're clean. You can easily hydrate them with a garden hose. It can hose off baked on dead bugs, which can restrict the airflow to the condenser. And since the radiator's behind that, restricts the flow to the radiator, and things just won't work right. Now, it's always a good idea every once in a while to glance at your temperature gauge. You want it to run where it normally runs. Most cars run halfway or a little bit over halfway, and there's a reason for that. Because car engines run on a double-edged sword here. You want them to dissipate the heat that the engine creates, because if it doesn't, the engine will blow up. But two, you don't want an engine running too cool. They don't work right then. Let's say your car normally runs halfway. If you find the temperature gauge is running like 1/3 of the way instead of half, it's actually running too cool, which can damage the engine bearings over time, and you'll get worse gas mileage, which may sound counterintuitive, but it isn't. You don't want an engine that runs too cold. Colder is not better. Although on the other side, if an engine runs too hot, once the coolant starts to boil, then it's no longer dissipating the heat from the engine. So basically these things are set up so that the coolant doesn't boil, but they're running pretty hot. And the reason they don't boil is because they're pressurized systems. Now, water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. If you notice, you open the radiator cap on a hot engine, a lot of times it starts bubbling all over the place. That's because it's running at over 212 degrees Fahrenheit, but the pressure makes the boiling temperature go up even higher because it's pressurized. But once you release that pressure, then it starts to boil. And as I said, once it starts boiling, it's no longer dissipating the heat the engine creates, and the engine will blow a head gasket or break your internal parts. So you got sitting on the fence situation with, you don't want an engine to run too cool, but you don't want it to run too hot. Now, the next thing you can do to make your car run better is keep the right tire pressure in your tires. You might just think, it's just tire pressure. But if the pressure's wrong, let's say it's low, the tire rides flatter, has more friction. That creates more friction in both the transmission that drives it and the engine that has to put out more energy to make it go the same speed. So something as dumb as having the wrong amount of air pressure in your tire can make your car run bad over time. And of course, it's unsafe anyways. Just remember, you want to check your tire pressure when a car is cold, first thing in the morning. Once you start driving them, they heat up, the pressure goes up. The pressure ratings are for a cold tire. So check them first thing in the morning, and really, buy one of those little pumps. You can get those little pumps cheap enough. I've got a good one now. It costs about $100. But if you get a cheap one, you use it every once in a while, it'll still work. It just won't last for years and years and years. This is the one I use. It's fantastic, and as you can see, I've modified it myself and put longer leads and big old battery clamps on it, because the ones you plug into cigarette lighters, they can burn out and not work that well. This has got giant clamps to go on the battery, long leads that'll reach any tire, and look, solid freaking metal. This isn't some plastic piece of crap. I've had this thing for over 10 years. It still works like new. And of course, lastly, and most obviously, change your engine oil regularly. And don't go by this nonsense that you can change it every 20,000 miles with these fancy oils. And the old conventional stuff, I change it every 3,000 to 5,000 miles. If you got synthetic oil, maybe you can push it to 7,000 or 8,000 miles. But do change it regularly. Don't let sludge build up and ruin a $5,000 engine because you didn't want to spend 50 bucks on an oil change. So now you know things that you can easily do yourself to make your car run its best for as long as possible. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.